Global governance refers to the complex system of institutions, norms, rules, and processes that aim to address transnational challenges and promote cooperation among states and non-state actors. In today's interconnected world, global governance plays a crucial role in addressing issues such as climate change, economic inequality, security threats, and human rights violations. This research delves into the significance of contemporary global governance and the challenges it faces.
After hearing the introduction about the contemporary global governance, let's go to the significance of contemporary global governance. For the first, addressing transnational challenges. Contemporary global governance provides a framework for addressing transnational challenges that no single country can solve alone. Issues like climate change, terrorism, and pandemics requires coordinated efforts among multiple stakeholders. Next, promoting peace and security. Global governance mechanisms such as the United Nations Security Council or the UNSC and international peacekeeping missions work towards maintaining peace and security by preventing conflicts and resolving disputes diplomatically. Next, facilitating economic cooperation. Institutions like the World Trade Organization or the WTO, International Monetary Fund or the IMF, and World Bank facilitate economic cooperation and promote trade, investment, and development across borders. Protecting human rights. Global governance frameworks, including international treaties and conventions, play a vital role in protecting and promoting human rights worldwide. Organizations like the United Nations Human Rights Council or the UNHRC monitor human rights violation and advocate for their enforcement. Advancing sustainable development. Through initiatives such as the Sustainable Development Goals or the SDGs, global governance fosters cooperation to address issues of poverty, inequality, education, health, and environmental sustainability.
What is an international organization? Generally, an international organization is a formal organization with members from 3 or more states that pursue specific goals. It can be an intergovernmental organization established by an intergovernmental agreement, and its members are states represented by their governments. Some examples are the United Nations, the World Bank, and regional organizations such as the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. International organizations can also be international non-governmental organizations, but their members don't officially represent governments. Hybrid organizations have members both inside and outside of governments. International institutions are synonymous with international organizations. However, the word institution has a broader meaning than organization. International institutions can be understood in political science as a set of rules and practices that prescribe behavioral roles, constrain activity, and shape expectations. These rules are used in world politics such as international law and international norms. The term institutions can also be seen used as synonymous with regimes. International regimes are defined as principles, norms, rules, and decision-making procedures in a given area of international relations. The distinction between institution or regime and organizations can be understood when we think of organizations as institutions with walls and bureaucrats. For example, the Bretton Woods system was created in 1944 as a regime to govern international monetary relations by pegging currencies to the dollar and the dollar to gold. But it was fundamental to have an international organization such as the IMF. And what about global governance? It is when states, international organizations, non-governmental organizations, corporations, and other actors interact to help address global problems that other actors can't solve by themselves. It can be understood as a set of laws, norms, policies, and institutions that define, constitute, and mediate relations among citizens, society, markets, and the state internationally.
So for the challenges facing contemporary global governance, we have found 6 issues, and the first one is the power imbalance. It is the existing global governance system often reflects power imbalances among states, with developed countries wielding greater influence over decision-making processes than developing nations. This imbalance can hinder effective cooperation and lead to disparities in resource allocation and policy outcomes. For example, the developed nations' dominance in climate change negotiations often sidelines the concerns of developing countries, leading to unequal agreements. So next is the lack of accountability. Many global governance institutions suffer from a lack of accountability and transparency, raising concerns about their legitimacy and effectiveness. Reforming these institutions to enhance accountability mechanisms is essential for improving their performance. For example, during global health crisis, vague accountability mechanisms within international organizations can lead to inefficient resource allocation and delayed responses, hampering crisis management. Another one is the fragmentation and coordination issues. The proliferation of global governance mechanisms and the lack of coordination among them can lead to fragmentation and duplication of efforts. Streamlining and coordinating these mechanisms are necessary to optimize resources and avoid inefficiencies. For example, independent humanitarian aid efforts in crisis zones often overlap, causing resource wastage and leaving gaps in assistance due to lack of cooperation. Moreover, the resistance to multilateralism is also one of the challenges because some countries exhibit resistance to multilateral approaches to governance. This reluctance undermines collective action and makes it challenging to address global challenges effectively. For example, some countries prepare bilateral trade agreements over multilateral frameworks, resulting in trade disputes and protectionist measures that disrupt global trade. The emerging threats and complexity. The evolving nature of global challenges such as cybersecurity threats, hybrid warfare, and non-state actor activities poses new and complex challenges for global governance. Adapting existing framework to address these emerging threats requires innovation and agility. For example, cybersecurity challenges like coordinated attacks on critical infrastructure are exacerbated by the absence of clear international cooperation protocols, leaving nations vulnerable to disruptions. Finally, nationalism and protectionism. It is the rise of nationalism and protectionist tendencies in various parts of the world threatens the spirit of international cooperation and undermines efforts to strengthen global governance. Overcoming these trends is crucial for fostering inclusive and collaborative approaches to governance. For example, imposition of tariffs and trade barriers by certain nations escalates into trade wars, undermining global economic integration and fostering instability in international trade. In summary, the contemporary global governance faces numerous hurdles that impede effective cooperation and coordination among nations. Key challenges include power imbalances favoring developed countries, a lack of accountability within governance institutions, fragmentation and coordination issues among mechanisms, resistance to multilateralism, and emerging threats such as cybersecurity and hybrid warfare. Additionally, the rise of nationalism and protectionism poses significant barriers to international collaboration. Addressing these challenges requires concerted efforts to reform institutions, enhance accountability, streamline mechanisms, and promote inclusive approaches to governance.
Contemporary global governance plays a critical role in addressing transnational challenges, promoting peace and security, fostering economic cooperation, protecting human rights, and advancing sustainable development. However, it faces significant challenges, including power imbalances, lack of accountability, fragmentation, resistance to multilateralism, emerging threats, and nationalism. Addressing these challenges requires collective action, political will, and institutional reforms to ensure that global governance remains effective, inclusive, and responsive to the evolving needs of the international community.